This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pornian Bakery. If you're located in the Pornian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pornian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone can podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. Okay, so we did end off last week talking about Spider-Man 2, so I thought we'd just close the loop there.
Oh,
and
okay.
You can just talk about how amazing the game is or how not amazing the game is, but it seems like you liked it, so.
No, I really like it. I was just wondering how they were going to introduce Venom, because that's the story for this one. And you have both Spider-Mans, cool. And you can switch between Miles Morales as well as Peter Parker.
Oh, nice. Okay, and it's at any time, right? You can any time during the story, you just swap back and forth. Does it actually work where, remember Army of Two, you had to use some strategy, whereas I would flank, you would flank them, I'd shoot from the front and then you'd come from the side and then take them out. Can you do that in the game? Is it kind of like that? That's why you go back and forth, or not really?
It depends on the story. It for the story, yeah, there'll be parts I think they mix together in a scene, but then it may switch to the other character, but it's not like you are instigating it. Generally, it's the story that's leading up to it. Yeah.
So it's not really strategic based. It's more this is just how we're progressing everything.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's still a good game. Definitely worth the buy, or.
Yeah. I just got the Venom suit on. So that's
oh, okay. Spider-Man.
Yeah, and
symbiote Spider-Man.
Yeah, and when you go berserk mode, you feel he's got the anger starting to come.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you feel the movements are more venomous,
aggressive.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah, remember the Miles Morales game? I still haven't finished that one, but it was more like a add-on.
Yeah.
It wasn't it was technically its own story, but it felt more like an add-on. So this one's more encompassing. There's much more to do. Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Is the world actually as big as they made it as before?
Yeah, they did. It's bigger than. Or? Yeah, I think that. It's bigger than the first Spider-Man one, and.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, cool. They've added more of the Manhattan, the islands and stuff like that, right? So to go through, it's kind of gliding / flying in some parts, because you get the web, the spider web on your on the arms, and you're using the wind to push yourself forward. Yeah, so it kind of it's quicker to get to the other place.
Okay, because that was one of the plot holes of the other one. Remember, in the old games, you could still swing, but it was there was no buildings to swing on. So how are you getting there?
Yeah.
So now them using the glider, that actually makes sense. Do you remember the thing Roel sent? It's Assassin's Creed, the newest one.
Oh yeah.
That looks pretty good too. I'm pretty interested in that might be a. But I don't know. I feel because I was going to say maybe that's the console seller where it's okay, it's worth buying now. But maybe if they come out with 3 or 4 new games similar to that, then it'd be time. Do you think it's worth purchasing the PS5 now? Remember before with Halo, that came out, you're okay, I got to buy this system because that game looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we're actually at a point now where it's oh yeah, it's a no-brainer, you should definitely buy it because these games are so sick? Or are you still wait a bit?
No, I think that now just whatever games are coming out are just coming out for the PS5. They've shifted away from the PS4.
Okay.
At least the big party ones. I don't think the other ones, they're still in the shift phase because there's just so many PS4s out there than PS5s.
Yeah. But I mean, that was the same problem with the PS2 when the PS3 came out. Like the cannibalization, like you were still making PS2 games, so it was so hard for you to like pitch the PS3.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember doing like that case study before, and it was just like PS3 had such a hard time because like Japan developers were still making RPGs for PS2,
Yeah.
and then you're like, well, why would I get the PS3 if
Yeah.
like?
But now
PS2.
the games, most of the games that are coming out are just for the next gen. So
Okay.
the shift has started or happened or happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. Yeah, maybe then if the shift is now, hopefully they'll bring down the price because it's still like $700 or no?
No, I don't think
Expensive.
so. I think it's 5. I didn't check it recently. I think
Still-
around
still pretty-
500 maybe. Yeah.
Okay, you know what's funny? I was gonna say like, oh, that's so expensive. Like, how are people out here like having kids, right? So like yesterday, I bought 3 croissants. Guess how much that cost me?
It's from a good place, maybe 30,
big code,
40
big code.
bucks.
Oh my god, $40. Wow, all
I don't
right.
know. I'm just
That's
assuming.
pretty expensive. No. Like 30, yeah, okay, cool. It was $21.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, bro, 3 croissants, $21. How are people out here buying these croissants
Sure.
with kids?
Yeah.
And then like I was telling one of my friends that, and they're like, people with kids aren't buying croissants. And I was like, yeah, that's so accurate, you know? And it's weird to think about like economy, like different markets that you're appealing to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because like, remember as kids, you would go to like Zellers or something, right? And as you got older, or like what's a more comparable one? What's like the Zellers of now? Like
I don't know.
freaking like Loblaws brand clothing. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
yeah,
with
yeah. Okay.
like the lower tier, like Zellers is like, oh, okay, whatever, it's like affordable. You know, it's not like the Bay where it's like, oh, it's pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because like as you got older, you're like, oh, well, why would I buy something from Zellers? And then as you get like children, and then your
Right.
your like disposable income reduces, you're like, oh, I get why they went to Zellers all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'd have to like accommodate.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just so funny to think about. It's like, yeah, people with kids are not buying $21 croissants,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because then you got to buy one for every kid, and then you know, yeah, it's pretty wild. And anything else about Spider-Man? Because I just got a thought that I want to ask you about.
No, it was a really good game. That's all I
Okay,
can
cool.
say.
So if we make the shift, that'll be one of the first games worth buying, or
Yeah. I think if you like the first Spider-Man, yeah, you're gonna like this one.
but doesn't it feel repetitive to you? Aren't you kind of like, oh, it's the same like button mash, unless they added something that's crazy new? I guess like the switching back and forth, that was kind of cool, but like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
It's
but
like, every
they
game kind of feels the same.
I don't know. There's something about it that I still like about it. Yeah, like I think there's different moves and stuff. Different.
But you also like God of War.
Mhm.
Like you love the button smash. Remember? Like it's like just gotta like hit these. You can hit them in different orders, but it's not like Tekken. You know, Tekken was like. Do you remember Tekken?
Yeah.
Like
They were very
and
strict in the
moves are
moves.
So complex. Yeah, it's so complex. Like I was like forward, down, forward, back, punch. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like, you know, Street Fighter, kick, punch.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It's easier.
It's a mixed bag. I don't mind the button mash thing, but it's the story as well. That's what's making me feel like going back
Yeah, that's true
to
too.
do the
Yeah.
yeah.
Facts. I mean, I do like that they added those to certain games where it's like story only.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Uncharted. It's like I only want to play the story.
Yeah.
So then it would make it so easy. You're just gonna run through it.
Yeah.
Like that was cool because like I just want to get the get like the
Mhm.
storyline of it. It's just being.
That's what that's what I was
storyline.
waiting for. Like it wasn't too long. I was like, when am I gonna get the Venom? Like when is this gonna happen? Like,
Mm,
it wasn't
yeah.
too long to get to that point. Yeah.
Okay. But is it like almost at the end now, or is it
No,
you know,
no,
like
no.
20 hours of
I still
gameplay?
feel like
Oh, okay,
we're in the
so
beginning because we don't really know what is the symbiote. Like we have no.
okay.
He's like where the aggressive stuff happens. That's where he's like, "What's going on?" Like I wasn't in control. Like
Oh, that's cool.
so, like that's
Yeah.
the phase he's going through. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. You timed it well with the movie that's coming out, the Venom, like the final
Right? Yeah,
one.
yeah,
When you said like, "Oh, I got to Venom," I'm like, "Isn't the movie coming out too?" You know that character, like Tom Hardy's Venom, he actually is like there are certain characters that you like. You're like, "Oh, that's you."
yeah.
Like Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. Then you think about like Tom Hardy Venom. You're like, "Oh, that you could only be Venom as Tom Hardy." Like it's interesting when the actor becomes the character, and we
Hmm.
only associate them to that. Like only this guy can play this.
Right.
Like, do you have any other ones aside from like Venom and Deadpool? Like, can't like, but you know what I'm trying to say,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
There's
yeah,
like
yeah,
certain
yeah,
ones
yeah,
you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
if it's like Wolverine, Wolverine is Hugh Jackman.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who else is gonna be Wolverine, bro?
Hmm.
Yeah, like the standout James Bond, I guess. Well, I mean, but that was more of our time. Daniel Craig.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, the kick-ass guy is the new James
Okay.
Bond.
Can we pause it for just a second?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, quick pause.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back. What were we talking about? Different actors that
Actors and
they can only play that role.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I remember what I was saying. James Bond, the new James Bond is the kick-ass dude.
Oh, really?
Remember
Okay.
kick-ass?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or what was it? Bullet Train.
Mm-hmm.
Craven the Hunter. It's that guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know how he's gonna play
Craven the
it, but
Hunter. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
did that even come out?
I don't think so, but Craven's
It got delayed, right?
yeah, but Craven's the main bad guy in the Spider-Man 2, by the way.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was waiting for Craven to come out. Like I saw the poster. I was in
No, I
Empress
think it
Walk
was just maybe an early teaser.
teaser.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't remember when it was, but yeah.
Yeah, and then it said like this year, October or something, or November. I was like, I thought this thing already came out.
Oh, I don't know.
Because
I think
it was a long time ago, right?
yeah,
He showed me
yeah,
that like so long ago. So I was like, maybe it just got delayed. The Blade movie is like
yeah.
it's
Gone.
delayed. And, yeah, it's like done now. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot
I was
of
really excited for that one, but I guess like even he knew the actor was like, um,
Mhm.
Marvel's going down. Yeah, I feel like the last good one will be Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, and then that's it.
Yeah,
like,
it's
what else we
interesting
got?
with Ryan Reynolds because he was Deadpool for a long time.
Yeah. Well,
Even
I mean, Hugh Jackman.
yeah,
Hugh Jackman's like
yeah.
even longer.
No, that's true. That's true. But like in that old movies where he was Deadpool, when with the closed, like his
Oh
mouth
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
covered.
true, true, true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I saw
Facts.
that in like their recent interview where he's like, like
Yeah, yeah,
that's an
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. True, true, true. And he didn't like that version of because like, why would you have my mouth covered? Like that was the whole point of Deadpool, like the merc with the
Yeah,
mouth.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know what's funny? There's certain actors too that like aren't don't change. Like you put Ryan Reynolds in a role, you're gonna get Ryan Reynolds. He's Deadpool. I saw the new one, If, same Ryan Reynolds. You watch like the old rom coms, same Ryan Reynolds. You know, oh, what was that one? The Proposal,
Mm-hmm.
Van Wilder, Just Friends. He's
Yeah,
the same guy
yeah, yeah,
in every movie.
yeah.
Is it like, is he a good actor? Or is he just playing himself and we've just adapted him to these roles? Even Blade Trinity, he was also the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, would you say maybe he's like, he's just iconic? He's not a good actor, he's just iconic. He's built a brand.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like The Rock.
Sure.
Like, you're not getting, like, no dramatic range.
No, no, yeah. I don't think
Kevin
it's
Hart.
yeah. You just enjoy when you go to the movie. This is a different thing. It's like a roller coaster versus like you're not gonna like what's a good actor or like those indie type movies or Oscar nominated stuff. That's not gonna happen to Ryan Reynolds unless he goes into that direction. But that means he's going to be playing something that's not him, not who he's used to playing.
Right, right, right. And that like affects your brand. Like imagine all the things you have to think about as an actor. You're like, will this role affect my overall brand?
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
like we look at it so superficially. It's like, oh, that's a cool movie, but they're thinking about it more strategically. Is like, I'm going to put you in this position to get this next role and that role. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Especially like when you watch, remember Emily Blunt?
Yeah.
She's Sicario.
Mm-hmm.
She's like a pretty good
She's
actress
a
now,
good.
right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we were watching, right? She's a good actress. But we were watching Confessions of a Shopaholic. She was the secretary. And we were like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, Emily Blunt's in this? Bro, what? And she was playing like the dumbest role.
Right. Right.
But you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
it's weird. You know, they have to like step ladder
Sure.
themselves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, and when you like watch where they came from, you're like, oh wow, that's great. Or like even the guy from
We watched last night Date Night with Steve Carell and Tina Fey,
okay.
and it was
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
like
Steve Carell too.
yeah, but it was like so many actors come into that movie, or like
Oh really?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I forgot.
Oh,
um,
that's interesting.
and even like Bill Burr before Bill Burr was big.
Oh yeah, dude. You remember 40-Year-Old
like
Virgin with Steve Carell too?
yeah, there was like a scene when it came in. He walked in with the other agent. I forgot her name. She's like a famous black actress, and then she did all the talking, and then they walked away from the scene. And it's like I was like, oh, Bill Burr didn't even say anything in that scene.
Oh wow,
It was
that was
interesting.
just like a filler character. Yeah, that's so interesting. It's like who you know. Like if you look at Kevin Hart's story, I read his book, and it's so fascinating to see like he was becoming super famous. He lost all his money, and then he had to build himself back up.
Hmm.
Like he got into so much debt. He didn't know about like taxes and all that. And is interesting because like you see that these are all because he's a huge name now, right? You're like, oh, Kevin Hart, oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
seeing how he got there is like, oh man, steps on steps on steps.
Hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
really what you did, you know, to get there. I heard this really crazy um like analogy for it, which is like you're catching up to the future. Our choices right now, like our conscious thought and our actions work together to create the future.
Hmm.
But you never think of it like that. You're just like, oh, yeah, in this moment, I'm just going to do this. In this moment, I'm just going to do this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm going to choose to do this.
yeah.
But then, like, you're literally manifesting a future self
Hmm.
that you're going to meet in the future.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you know what
Right.
I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like, and then you look back and you're thinking, how did I get here? Oh, I got here through this. But it was through this current moment
Hmm.
that we manifested that moment.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But we don't think of life like that. But it's in all the ancient texts, though. They
Mm-hmm.
always talk about it where it's like you're manifesting reality. And it's like people think of that as some crazy esoteric thing, but it's like it's very simple. Just your actions and your thoughts in this moment affect your future,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. True.
And you're seeing it with like if you like movies are a perfect time capsule of that because you see Kevin Hart now, you see Kevin Hart then, you're like, whoa, totally different.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
I heard this really cool thing about comedians. Actually, I think Kevin Hart said it, where it's like it doesn't matter how bad your movie is as long as you have a good set. Because comedians
Okay.
always fall back to their set.
Right.
So as long as their stand up is good, it doesn't matter how bomb the movie goes.
Hmm.
It can be like the worst movie ever, but like you just put in a new set. I mean, I guess that also works.
It's more
too
about like
for
retaining an audience, right? Like he's gonna
yeah.
that means he's growing his audience, still retaining his audience, so there's still gonna be some viewership even if the movie's gonna be bad.
Mm. Yeah, totally. But then it conversely, it also works with like Will Smith, right? We're all, oh, laughing stock. He slapped Chris Rock. But then you watch Bad Boys 4 and you're like, who cares about the slap, bro? You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
like you just undid your, I don't know, past mistakes through your current actions,
Hmm.
which is also like another esoteric thought where it's like you can change who you are in the future. Like your past, it doesn't matter what your past was because you can use the present to steer the future again, you know?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what all of these people, because they talk about it again in spiritual text, but I wonder if that's what all these people that we think of as like standout personas, like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Will Smith, they all knew this. This is like the secret, the real secret.
Hmm.
You know, when people talk about like the
Yeah, yeah,
secret
yeah.
about organization, it's like, no, this is the real secret, which is your actions can shape the future.
Hmm. True.
and we're just like mesmerized by these people. Like, oh my god! But it's like, no, you like, it's a thing that people do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's so simple.
yeah.
We just who does it?
Yeah.
You know, it's a trippy thought. All right, you know what's also a trippy thought? Anything else about that? I'm gonna ask you my well, not thought experiment, but like
No, no, no.
your opinion.
Yeah,
Okay,
like movies are good in that sense. Seeing the history, then like, oh,
time
where they
capsules.
were. It's like, oh, I didn't even pay attention to this person. But these are
Yeah, totally,
these are the
totally.
steps they were taking. Yeah.
Yeah. And the best ones are when you see them in like what do you call that? Not even cameos. It's like their background actors.
Right.
You know, and you're like, oh wait, is that? And then you're like, oh dude, that is. And then but they didn't, like you said, Bill Burr didn't say anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like now they're in Star Wars. Bill Burr's in Star Wars,
Hmm.
but he's a comedian. So
Yeah.
have you seen the Acolyte?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I'll wait for
Okay.
the rest of the episodes, but there's a lot of controversy stuff going around it.
Oh
So,
really? Oh, okay. No, I was gonna say I didn't watch it, but like I saw the actors, and it was like the Squid Games person, the
oh
Logan.
yeah.
I was like, oh wow, there you go again. It's like
Well, yeah,
because you
there's
wonder what happened to Logan
true,
Paul,
true. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what she's doing now.
Hmm.
Yeah, what were you saying? Controversies?
Just like the story wise, I think there's. I haven't seen
Oh,
it
okay.
myself. Just because it's a Disney made one,
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if there's Star Wars fans are not liking it. Supposedly,
Oh, interesting. It's
yeah,
like not canon. Oh, okay. Too bad.
we'll see.
Okay. All right. So, now I'm gonna ask you my thing. So this was tripping me out like 2 days ago,
Hmm.
and I was like, again, it has to do with time, like this moment into that moment. But like, how far do you look into the future? You personally?
Into the future,
Yeah, you know what I mean. Actually, wait,
it
pause for a second.
depends.
Okay. Let me put context around that. So I was listening to this person, uh, Billy Carson, again, the guy from Joe Rogan, who's talking about ancient civilizations. So
Okay.
I've just been deep diving into his podcast because he's so interesting. And he was saying that another esoteric thing that a lot of ancient people knew was that you can like you can develop the ability to peer into the future, see what steps there are to get to that future, and then actualize those steps in this moment.
Hmm.
Okay. And he was like pairing that with the ability to act and be consciously aware of your thoughts in this moment to shape your future. Like what I was just saying, right? So like time, we perceive it, we experience time in the now, but we can jump through time in our minds. And
Hmm.
you can develop this ability to like see the future and work backwards. Okay, so it sounds hella esoteric, right? You're like, oh, dude, that sounds like some magic stuff. We literally do it all the time,
Hmm.
but we just forgot that ability. It's like like when you're an inventor, or like on a small scale, you're like a creator. You're like,
Hmm.
okay, I want to create this design, and then like I tell people all the time that I'm actually designing in my head before I even design it on the computer.
Oh yeah.
Like you know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
like they're like watching me just be like, hmm. And then I'm just thinking about like, okay, I can move this here. Okay, what about this? And I'm like, oh, got it. And then I'll just like quickly make it. Like, oh, you're so fast. But I'm like, no, but I spent like 20, 30 minutes thinking about it
Right.
before I actually made it.
Yeah.
Right. But isn't that exactly what he was describing?
Hmm. Yeah.
Right? So these are very simple things that we have the ability to do, but we just don't practice them. You know, when we talk about like forgotten knowledge,
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
like skills that we used to have, people are like, oh, we used to be telepathy, like, we used to be telepathic, we used to move objects with our mind. It's like, sure, but there are very simple things that you could do right now that you've totally missed out on, which is like pre-planning. We just
Mhm.
call that pre-planning now,
Yeah.
peering into the future, right? um okay, so with all that, again, like, how often do you use that ability aside from like little projects, like do you forecast out like 5 years in the future? The people are like, oh, 10 years from now I want to be here, 5 years now I want to be here, you know?
Uh, In some way, yeah. It depends on the thing, I guess. What you're
Okay,
specifically
so like
thinking
how
about or talking about. Like I like
okay, so how far
we're saying like where you think your future will be in 5 years, or uh like where my position in my job is going to be in 5 years, or like
sure.
yeah, these are
That's what you think about? Like you
that's what I'm
use
saying.
that
It
skill?
depends. Yeah, it depends on what I'm. Yeah, like what am I doing to make sure that in those 5 years I'm more than knowledgeable or prepared for it. Right, I'm doing things already right now for that.
Okay, okay, cool. So now so that's a very pragmatic thing, like yeah, totally. But now let's take it to the ultra extreme.
Okay.
Okay. So I had totally forgotten about not forgotten about this, but like neglected this ability. So 3 days ago, I was like, I couldn't escape my mind, but I was really thinking about the fact that, and it was through like reels that my sister sent me of like um, one day will be the last day that you fill your dog's water bowl. And I was like,
Hmm.
damn. And then I started to miss like Athena. I was like, oh, dude, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and then like I started to think past that. I was like, one day will be the last day you say goodbye to your parents. One
Yeah, yeah,
day
yeah.
will be the last day.
I've had that. Yeah,
Bro.
yeah, I've had that.
Oh my.
I
All right. All
this
right.
always happens to
Okay.
me
Cool, cool,
when
cool.
I watch. I
I'm
forgot
so
which.
glad. I'm so glad.
Oh no, no, yeah, it's not just you. It was like a months ago when that
I was
happened. I was
tripping
watching.
hard,
I was
bro.
watching. I forgot what movie it was, but it was like after the movie, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go hang out with my parents." Like it was like that,
Yeah,
and I
bro.
was like, the next day I went there just to hang out, but nobody knew what was the reason. It was just like,
Yeah. No, I 100%. 100%. And okay, so yes, 100%. That's so funny that we both felt it. And
mm,
it's like this unlocking of the mind to see the future so far in advance, it's detrimental, but it pushes you to appreciate the moment.
yeah, 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 it does.
Because then I was like, oh, dude, I'm gonna like go play with Athena. But you know what happened? So like, because you know how she spends like Wednesday to Friday at my parents' house. So like, I went there yesterday. I was like, oh, I was like petting her. She literally kicked me in the chest and walked away. I was like petting her, and I was like, bro, you don't understand though. You don't understand that you know what I mean? But it's like, because she's not using that ability,
Sure.
but I'm using that ability,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Like you're saying with like, you're like, oh, Vish is hanging out with us, but it's like, no, I'm using the ability,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
And imagine the type of world, like the type of existence, because we're talking about how your actions in this moment will affect your future. What if we all just thought with that kind of scarcity mindset?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
I think
mean?
in that sense, yeah, we'd be more grateful for things that we have that we end up forgetting about, right? In general,
Totally.
um, then there would be more. I'd say I don't know. Maybe it'll cause more care in the world. I don't know if that's
Right.
altruistic thinking,
Dude,
right? I
for
think that
real
would be.
though. No, for real though, right? Because you'd be like, oh man, well, this isn't going to last forever. Like,
hmm
I should just appreciate my time with you
hmm
in this moment.
Yeah.
But then you get really scared because then I was like, well, there's also going to be a time, like, let's say I outlive everyone.
hmm
And then now all your friends are dead, your partner's dead, your parents are dead. You're like, what am I doing here?
hmm
And I can understand how somebody in that position would be like, what's the point? Because it's like every support
Yeah,
system is gone.
and I mean, you're thinking about that yourself, but there's already a person that probably is living that right now.
I know. I know. Trippy. Trippy. I know. And then, but then that gives you the compassion to be like, let me go hang out with that person.
Yeah,
Let me like show some.
yeah.
Okay. So I think this is the secret to building. But all right, wait, hold on. Maybe it's not the secret. Maybe it's like, because you can be a wizard or a sorcerer.
hmm
So this is the magic that we're seeing right now. Okay. And a wizard is a positive sorcerer. Or, yeah, the positive of the sorcerer,
hmm
a wizard. So we know this. So it's like, okay, you could change your reality and you become a wizard. You spread positive vibes. Or you know this and then you're like, well, I just want to hoard it then. If it's not all going to, like, I want my bloodline to be
Sure.
and that it's the same magic, but now you're the sorcerer who's like trying to take away from everyone
Mm-hmm.
because you want it for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
But I think this is the magic. Like this temporal jumping, whereas we live every day as like monotonous routine, monotonous routine. But if you're jumping temporally,
Mm-hmm.
like you think about the past, you're like, oh, I got here through here. I think I actually think that's like our greatest gift that most other animal, like the one defining thing that animals have, that we have that animals don't have, which is temporal reality,
Right.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is no time for there's like habits and routines, but there's no time. They're not thinking about the past.
Right.
And like that's where we get tripped up, which is like depression and anxiety. Depression is you thinking about the past, anxiety is you're thinking about the future
Mm-hmm.
in a negative sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. You're just stuck in
And
those moments, and you can't come back to present reality.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And there's like exercises for that where you start counting the things. Like if you listen to people who are therapists that try and help coach you out of your depression or anxiety, a lot of the tactics are about present moment things. They'll like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so count things around you. Start touching things in your presence that all right, what does this feel like? And then it's like slowly bringing you back to the present.
Right.
Because all of these things are just like mental future past things. They're not real,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know? And like I think that is the defining care. I think that's our superpower,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
Like what do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I
Like
think it's yeah, it
what
makes
else could it
sense.
be?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like we have opposable thumbs. No, like even if we didn't have opposable thumbs, like if you cut off my thumbs, I'm sure I could figure out a different. There's this thing that I started doing at jujitsu where it's just unfair. Like, all right, so if I'm going against somebody, it's mostly like women who I do this to, but I'm gonna try and do it with like dudes too now. If because I heard Hickson Gracie, like the best jujitsu person, he did this. So when you start getting too skilled against the one you're competing against, instead of like just crushing them, give yourself a handicap.
Mm-hmm.
So what he used to do was like he'd call out the move and it'd be like, I'm gonna get you this way. So I started doing that before, but I'm like, okay, now I can do that. So another thing that he said, well, Henner did, which is like, I'll use one hand.
Right.
Okay. So now I'm like with these like lower ranked like women and like very light guys because I'm like stronger and heavier than them. I'm like I'm gonna use no hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm literally defending and attacking with just my feet. And there
Right.
was this dad that was so funny because like I saw this dad watching me against this like 6 foot giant, who's like 240 pounds. I asked him, I was like, he asked me, he's like, how much do you weigh? I'm like, oh, 150 about like maybe like 145. And he's like, oh, I'm like 240. And I'm like, oh, okay. But we roll all the
Yeah, yeah,
time,
yeah.
you know? And then the dad was watching us and he's like, oh, like they're clashing. And then I ran out of partners and his daughter was there and she's like, you want to roll? I'm like, sure. So I think the dad was kind of like, don't kill my daughter. But then I was like, all right, I'm just going to use my feet. And then when I was leaving, the dad was like, nice. Because I totally escaped all of the moves with just my feet.
Right,
You
right.
know, she was like trying to leg lock me. She got me in an arm bar, but I was like, okay, I can't use my arm to pull out. So I did a front flip and then I just like rolled out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, whoa, what do you do? But anyways, so uh, suffice to say, if I lost my thumbs, I'm sure I could still figure out a way
Sure.
to like get there.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
really what it
Yeah.
is it's our like ability to jump back and forth through time.
Mm-hmm.
I really think like our superpower is time manipulation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So in relation to that, we were talking about like positive, um, like you look at the world in a more gratuitous way, not gratuitous, like grateful way. You're like, oh yeah, like you know. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, okay, so check this out. This was a topic like for 2 weeks ago, but we just kept running out of time. But it pairs nicely with this thought. So 2 weeks ago, I went to I don't know if you saw my post with the sticky tunes with like
I don't know.
anime stickers are the new art.
Anime sticker. Okay,
All right,
sure.
probably
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
Probably.
yeah.
So I've been hyping this dude up because I love his work, right? And I keep showing up. And then I went back to his store because I'm like, oh, let me get more stickers. And he was so grateful that he's like, oh, dude, it's you. And then he started giving me like free stickers. And I was like, oh, I was like fully prepared to pay, but like, cool. Like
Yeah.
he, you know, I still paid for some, but then he gave me a bunch of free ones. So I was like, okay, sure. And then I went to Tim Hortons, and then the girl was like, oh, sorry, ran out of, like, she filled my coffee and she didn't fill it up all the way. And then she ran out and she's like, oh, like this is all there's left. I was like, yeah, whatever. Like she didn't know I'm not going to finish it
Mm-hmm.
either way. Like I don't drink my coffee all the way. So I was like, whatever.
Right.
And then
Right.
she's
Right.
like, oh, okay, you can have anything from the counter. And I was like, what?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Like even this? And then she's like, yeah, you want that? And then she gave it to me. And I was like, and then I called Tara. I was like, these two weird things just happened to me by leading with positivity. And then what she was saying is that maybe it's because the default for everyone is negative. Oh, you didn't fill up my coffee.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
waiting
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
one.
True.
Oh, yeah, you know, like just give me my stickers,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I was like, so I'm like, your art is sick, man, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a very like because you're not looking at the finiteness of time and all that stuff, or looking at it with gratitude. Like most people aren't doing that, and the world is defaulted towards negativity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why people say, like in all these books, they're like, if you just lead with love, the world opens up for you, and like all this stuff. Because it's like people just don't experience that all the time. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts? Like, you think so, or
Uh. Yeah, I think so. That makes sense.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless like, but also you have to see the sign for what it is, because like those two things happen. I could just been like, whatever, lucky. But I was like trying to deconstruct it. I was like, why did that just happen?
Mm-hmm.
That's so weird, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it's like the energy you put out in the world. People don't remember what you did, but they remember how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, it's a positive guy,
Yeah. True.
you know?
It's
And I think
it's
that's
more
another
the
secret.
it's more the
Yeah.
emotion that's left behind than not necessarily the person
Mhm.
itself. It's the emotion.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. You're just like, ugh, I don't like that guy. Avoid him.
Yeah.
Vibes. It's just like a
Yeah.
vibe,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Yeah. So, yeah, I think that is also another secret. But I think that's tied to like our temporal understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does it ever freak you out to think like, where am I going to be when I'm like 70? Like, you know, when you're a kid, like we're
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
age now,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you're like, I still feel like that, though.
You
I still
do.
feel
You
like a kid.
still. Yeah. Yeah. You still.
So then, right? Where am I
Yeah.
going to be at 70? Am I going to be still a kid, but in a 7-year-old's body?
Maybe. In some ways, I think
You know
so.
what I mean?
I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like weird to think about because you're like, you look at a 7-year-old now. It's almost like when you're a kid, you took everything for granted because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's like to be an adult. But then when you become an adult, you're like, oh, this is what you're all feeling. And then you grow more empathy towards those other people. Like I just said, like, happy birthday to my aunt who's like 75 on
Mm-hmm.
like Facebook. And I'm like, whoa, 75? Where will I be at 75? Will I be like an old, like, will I be jaded? Will I be like too
Mm-hmm.
tired? You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
what does that look like? That must freak so many people out.
It does. Yeah. It does. Of course.
And I think like with that, there is value in like building a family, because then that is stability. Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, who's going to be surrounding you when you're like old?
Mm-hmm.
That's not a given though, because you've seen so many families where it's like, oh, we hate that person. So
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though you're old, they shun you. So you're like,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's not guaranteed.
Sure.
But it's at least one step towards like safeguarding that lonely feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't think that's like enough of a reason to venture down that path. You know, that's a very selfish one in my mind. You're like, oh, I just want my children take care of me when I'm old. That's a very poverty third world mindset. Because a lot of third world people, like, they have tons of kids, and you're like, oh, how do you have like my freaking family is like 13 brothers and sisters on both sides. You're like,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
did you do that?
yeah.
Right? But that's because those are your. I heard a scientist say that that's your security, your like monetary security.
Mm-hmm.
You need people to work in the fields, so you have more children to work in the fields.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like we don't really have that anymore. So it's like, so now you need like an elevated reason to
Mm-hmm.
take that step.
Mm-hmm.
But again, leading with scarcity versus leading with love, it's like, because then you could potentially build some like trauma. You like have like 13 kids, you neglect all of them. They all hate you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You build trauma. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who's the favorite
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. Like, you ever go with that? It's like
Yeah.
so much to navigate in this one moment.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. It's what actions do you choose? Yeah.
Right? And it's like, well, in this moment, it's like I'll look back and I'm like 70, I'm alone, and it's like, but you chose that
Mm-hmm.
in this moment. And you're just looking back, like we're just catching up with our future selves.
Sure. Yeah.
But when you really think about it, it's so trippy, and you're like freaking out. You're like, whoa, I
Yeah.
have a lot of power.
Yeah. I think that happens as you get older. It's the mortality, realizing of the end.
Yeah. I never thought about that when I was a kid. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, whatever. Don't do your homework, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then it's like, well, you didn't do your homework, and that's why you're here.
Yeah.
You're like, damn, all right. You
True.
know? I saw this one reel that was so dark. There was like there's a dude. Are you thinking about the same one?
No, because you're saying reels. It's funny because I don't live in that world of reels.
Or TikTok, whatever. Yeah. Same thing. Those like short videos.
Sure.
So there's a dude who he was just like a front facing video of him, and he looked tired, and he was like taking the bus to work at 5 a.m. because I thought it was better to be funny in high school than smart. And I was like, damn, that's
Jeez.
cold.
Right.
But it's like, that's a reality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like, but maybe it's not good to jump that far in the future as well, because like you lose your sanity. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
No, I think it's what's the word? It's like it is good, but not being stuck in that spot.
Oh, it's like reference. It's a reference point.
Yeah.
You don't, like, when you're driving and you look at the map, you're not looking at the map the entire drive. You're like, okay, we've hit this point. All right, cool. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
We've hit this point. All right.
Yeah. Like, so yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good point. But it's hard to break. I was a little elevated. That's why it's really hard to break.
Sure.
I was like,
Sure. Yeah.
You know what's funny is like double-edged sword. I was like, I couldn't sleep, so I was like, let me just get a little elevated because it helps me sleep. And then I went out. Yeah, or you're saying?
No, because I was watching Dark Matter yesterday, another episode of it, and it's the same. It was the same feeling that I was getting, where it's like he was in a world. He's trying to get back to his own world, right? The main guy, because it's a multiverse thing, right?
Yeah.
And he's trying to find a way back to his own world that he was kidnapped from, and he was running out of these vials to be able to do that anymore. Like, near the end of it, he went to a world. He almost became that person that was going to basically, in that universe, even though it's not his universe, but he was desperate to, maybe I'll just take over my version of this universe, kill the guy that's here and take over his life. Like, he became that desperate. But it's like, wait, it's still not my world. It's not my wife. Like,
right.
So he came to a point where it's like, he would then, if he did this, he'd just become the same person that did that to him. Or do I choose? Okay, do I choose in a different path? So it was more like, when that was happening, it's like, for me, it was like thinking like if it was a multiverse, because there's so many varieties or variations that happen. Am I in a good one, or am I in a bad one, or am I in a?
Oh yeah, yeah, true, true, true. You all right. You know what my response to that is though. Okay, so that's very similar to like uh I can't remember what the exact question was, but I think I made like an offhand joke like, "Oh, you're the best wife" to Tara, and then but it but like and then she was like something like you said that like there's other ones or like
Okay.
there could have been other ones. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. You're the best one in this
Yeah. Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like maybe there was a better one, but I'm not in that reality.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Right.
like
Right. Right.
you just have to kind of just accept your reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
like faced with all those multi, like what about this? What about that? Like what if this happens? It's like okay, sure. Because I'm sure people think that all the time. You know, when you're like taking a test or something, like
Mm-hmm.
that's very important. Like if you're trying to be like a doctor, like Tara, right? And you're like, well, what if I fail this test? What if I pass this test? What if I, I'm not the highest scoring test? And you're like, okay, true. Let's just do it and we'll figure out what reality we entered,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Because those are just mind games that
Yeah. I
there's no
forgot.
answer.
Yeah. There was. I forgot what he said at the end, but it was like, but the universe that I was meant to be in was what I was meant to be in. All the particles for me
Exactly.
matched, and that's why I'm
Yeah,
in this universe. It's something like that.
exactly. Even the fact that he's jumping from reality to reality, like that's his reality.
Yeah.
Like he made that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's destiny for him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, you know what's weird to think about? Remember, like we're talking about this is the last podcast about Schrodinger's cat, but like the idea of infinity, right? In the multiverses, and like every choice is a new reality,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then if you pair that with the rendering idea of like Schrodinger's cat, where they said that nothing. So like if you don't see I heard this on a podcast. It's crazy though. It's related to quantum physics. You don't see the house, like your parents' house right now. Okay. You don't see it, but it's in a state of potential. So it could be there, it could be not there, it could be burned down, it could be, breaking, it could be not breaking, whatever, whatever. But until you see it, then that becomes your reality. It renders itself to your reality, like a video game,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the map isn't fully rendered when you're playing a video game. It's
No.
only when you move into that zone, it renders itself
Mm-hmm.
to save on memory space, right? And they're saying that's what like quantum physics, that's what our reality's like. That's why a lot of people think we're in a simulation.
Mm-hmm.
Simulation. But then I'm like, okay, is it because you're the observer in your reality? I'm the observer in my reality. Like I don't actually know what's going on in your head. I can just assume that you're having the exact same experience as me.
Sure. Yeah.
So if the reality is I'm in a video game that's first person and I'm experiencing the world and it's rendering itself to my experience. Is that happening for you? Is that happening for another person? And then it's like, this is really what infinity means.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're all having rendered individual realities that we just don't see and they're just stacked on each other.
Right.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
your full reality is your full reality.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know I'm having the same real experience as you. You
Right.
can only trust that we are.
Sure. Yeah.
You know? And if we're all feeling that, and the universe is rendering itself to whatever we choose. So are we living in a stacked multiverse reality, not only through our own decisions, but everyone else's decisions too? Like it looks like an interwoven, like
Mm-hmm.
knot in my mind. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. 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 I do understand what you're trying to say. It's
Right? And
true.
it's trippy though, right? And the universe is, we are the universe. So we are individual expressions of the universe becoming conscious to itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like at the end of the day, even though I'm like, oh, I'm BJ, you're Vish, it's like, not really. We're backed by the universe's consciousness. We're just being told who we are
Right.
in this reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is no Vish. Your parents were just like, we're gonna name you this.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
treat you like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like at the end of the day, you literally could be Oh no, you literally are just the universe's consciousness experiencing life. And like that experience is
Mm-hmm.
shaping this identity, but this identity is not real. It's completely malleable.
Yeah. Right.
But the only thing that is real is that you are having a conscious experience of a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
following me on
Yeah.
that?
I'm following.
That's hella trippy, right? Because the reason why that came up is yesterday, Tara, like, she had this crazy revelation of like, like most of basically all of my friends are people I grew up with on our street,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And then Tara said, "What if you were moved one street over? You'd have no friends."
Yeah.
But that's assuming I'd be the same person. But
Mm.
what if, because I had no friends, I had to change my personality in order to make friends?
Mm-hmm.
So then I'd actually be a whole different person. Because right
Right.
now I'm not very extroverted. Because I'm like, I don't see the point of that. Like I have you guys, I'm cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then if I was one street over, if I didn't have friends, I'd have to work at being extroverted.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd actually interact with a whole different type of version of me.
True. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the only underlying thing between both versions of me is that I'm having a conscious experience,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Sure.
Because like
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
end,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the only thing that's real is your conscious experience. Everything else is reshapeable.
Yeah.
Trippy.
Mm-hmm.
So then what are we? Like then this brings out questions like, okay, so what the hell are we? Like people are so invested in the reality, like I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm the banker, it's like you are in this moment. On your deathbed, you won't be those things.
Mm-hmm.
When you lose your job, you won't be that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, who are you?
Exactly.
And I think like, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think confidence is knowing this and just walking through the world with different hats.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, in this moment I'm that. In that moment I'm that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like me personally, I think I unconsciously do that. And that's why I don't mingle the worlds. So like I spend a lot of time in jiu-jitsu, right? And very rough, very like you need to trust the other person. But I don't hang out with anyone in jiu-jitsu,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
That world's separate. At work, I'm very dedicated to work. People see me as a very like positive person in this zone, but I don't hang out with people at work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm like friends with one of them, but I don't like actively
Yeah.
engage
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
those.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm trying to say? And it's like, but the underlying person is me being dedicated.
Mm-hmm.
People at martial art, like I'm studying knife fighting now, and the guy was like, I was showing up on a Monday. He's like, "Oh, I love that I can always count on you to come on Monday."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I just laughed. I'm like, "Yeah, man, discipline, martial arts. All right, see you inside." Like, he was inviting me for a conversation. They added me to like a WhatsApp chat. Like, they're trying to like,
Sure. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
integrate. But I'm like, that's that world, bro. He's like, "Oh, what do you do for a job?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a marketer." He's like, "Oh, maybe we could work together and like whatever." I was like, "Oh, I'm really just here for martial arts, bro."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, but isn't that what we all really are? And everyone tries to make like one person, I am this, and no matter what situations, like that's really not real though.
Mm-hmm.
There's no consistency. I'm authentic because no matter where I am, I'm being myself. And you're like, or you're being a jerk. Because maybe in that instance, you really shouldn't be as vocal.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
No, I was just thinking of the word like that kind of, oh, maybe we can do something. It's like, I think it's the big word which is called networking. That's just the main thing that everybody wants to do.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
That's the
Yeah,
big buzzword, right? So like that's what
network.
anytime you have an opportunity,
It's
no
fake.
network. It
It's
doesn't.
fake, bro. Like, I am not going to know you in, like, if I just stop showing up, I would never talk to you ever again.
Sure. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, the one thing that brings us all together is, okay, This is actually so interesting. Um, so one thing they say in jujitsu, I've heard this so many times, is you you can go fast alone, but you can go far together. And if anyone from jujitsu is listening to this, this is the reality of this is life though. Okay, jujitsu is just like an analogy for life. Okay,
Mhm.
just had to preface that because what I'm about to say is very harsh. So you hear that from your coach all the time.
Mhm.
You know, respect your training partner, build a bond. You guys got to know each other because, like, without your training partner, then you wouldn't even have anybody to practice jiu-jitsu with,
Sure.
right?
Right.
And then my thought was, I would just join a different gym. Like, what do you mean, bro? Like, it's only the people that are so fearful of themselves, like they don't have enough confidence. Because like I've walked in many gyms,
Mhm.
you know, and like that in itself is a superpower. I was talking to one person about that. Actually, it's like, do you know how much courage it takes to like? I'm not trying to hype myself up, but it's like you are literally, oh, I'm gonna be Shark Tanked.
Mhm.
Like I'm going here, and I know that I know no one. I have to hold my own. My skill has to speak for
Sure.
itself, or
Yeah.
else they're just gonna destroy me or
Mhm.
like ignore me. Whether it's like a new karate gym, knife fighting gym, jujitsu gym. It's like when the guy was like, the knife fighting guy's like, "Oh, you actually showed up." I'm like, this is my reality. Like, I
Mhm.
have to be so confident that I can walk in any space and like, okay, trust my body will know what to do,
Mhm.
right? Or be comfortable failing. But it's only the people that don't have that ability that gravitate towards that, which is like, we all got to be here together. We all gotta, stick to like share each other's phone numbers, meet up after class. Like it's all about a community. I did that before.
Mhm.
And then when that fell apart, I was like, oh, no, it's me. I'm walking alone,
Mhm.
you
Right.
know?
Right.
But now, like, taking that as an analogy for life, it's like, that's literally all of our lives, though. You are only at this job because the job's still there and you're making money at that job.
Mhm.
But what if the job closed down? Do you have the conviction to shift?
Right. Sure. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And the whole truth behind all that is it's only us having that conscious experience in a 3D world.
Mhm.
So understanding where you lie in that, it's like, well, you have to build self tools. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's you.
Mhm.
That's why I was like, where are you going to be when you're 70? It's you.
It's your decisions. Yeah.
Everyone's dead around you.
Yeah.
But not even just decisions, but it's like your conscious experience is just you.
Yeah.
If
Right.
everyone else died around you when you're 7 years old, it's like, yeah, you're alone.
Mhm.
But the truth about life is we're all alone.
Yes. Now, how do you? It's learning that, but then again, it was a future thing, dabbling in that future, but then knowing the present. Right. Like,
Yeah.
so when you get to that point, you should be okay. Right.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but I think people don't understand these fundamental truths, which is like the time is our superpower. We're all just
Mhm.
having the same conscious experience. We're all alone. If you lead with love, you can build a different reality because everyone's not leading with love.
Mhm.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's like these are foundational components that don't really get taught, and then once you realize it, you have like a panic mode thing, which is what I
Sure.
had a couple days ago, right?
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute.
Mhm.
But like we need to be thinking about these things. And I think that's why you had like shamans before. Shamans that were like, hey man, we've been here. That's what life is. Like you need not even a shaman, it's just like a skilled expert who's been there. Because if you've been there, you could show the person the way.
Sure. Yeah.
Or to go back to jiu-jitsu. So um when so a lot of people will teach just like saying things. They'll be like, arm goes there, hand goes there, blah blah blah, right? And then they'll do it. And then when people partner up with me, I don't do that. I make them feel it. I'm like, this is what I feel from you. This is what I feel like. Do you understand it? And then they'll automatically like do what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I always get this. This is the best class I've ever had. Oh my God, like you blew my mind. And I'm like, because I've walked that path
Yeah.
and I'm just showing you you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we have a world of fakes now. We have a world of just talkers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, head goes there, grab this, blah, blah, blah. And it might look different, you know? Because I've gotten this before, like somebody who's like watching, they'll be like, oh, why are you teaching that? That's wrong. And I'm like, but it'll work better.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't feel what they're doing to me. Like, I'm just going to defend it.
Yeah, I think it may come down to, I don't know, you can probably know this better, but maybe it comes down to how well you actually know the
Yeah, that's true too.
situation, right?
Yeah.
The moves or whatever it may be. Right.
Knowledge plus experience.
Yeah.
I know what the move's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And I tell them all the time.
Right.
They're like, but my hand isn't there. And I'm like, okay, do it. Do whatever you want, man.
Yeah,
You can do
yeah.
it that way. But you feel this is better.
Mm-hmm.
Your choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, there's but that comes down to in a lot of context, even at work and stuff. There will be things that are, these are the rules or these are the guidelines, but that's why
like
they're
the
just,
rules.
you have to, not everything works. So at certain points you have to do some things different. It's just guidelines. These are not like
Totally.
100% rules.
For sure. It's like learn the rules so you can break the rules. That's what every good artist says, right? They're
Mhm.
like, you first have to learn what like rule of thirds is. You have to learn about like Fibonacci spiral, and then you can start breaking them
Mhm.
to make new things.
Yeah.
But that's knowledge plus experience equals wisdom. Like they know what the rules are. They're experiencing something else. So they're like, hey man, you choose.
Mhm.
So it's like leading with wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I have to get ready for this tattoo appointment soon, and I feel like this last thing is going to be actually, well, two things I really want to talk about. So, in relation to the rules, how much do you think education matters? So we're talking about knowledge here.
Education matters to just understand the basics.
Right. Okay, wait, no, let me frame it this way. How much do you think that knowledge or education shapes your view of reality?
No, it's experience.
Okay, it is both though. Like you,
but most of it's going to be that's the basic foundations, but then the experience is what is leading you
for sure
forward. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, no, 100%. We're on the same page. So let's say you don't have a full, thorough education on a certain topic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how do you know what you don't know? You can't know what you don't know.
Yeah,
it's an unknown. It's
sure.
impossible, right? They're called blind spots, right? So with that, wouldn't you expect the leader of a country to have policy understandings? Be a lawyer, something, legalities, be a business person.
Sure.
So, like, right? Because every country has laws, is run like a business. Global economics is what fuels our world. Policies are what allow the things to flourish. All makes sense. Not a knock. I'm just saying that this is the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
And yet we have a school teacher running Canada.
Sure.
No, but really think about that.
Yeah, I know.
think that's a systemic issue. I love Trudeau, man. He's my Batman. You know, he gave us CERB.
Sure.
He gave us, shots. Whatever. Balances it out, in case they're listening. That guy's bad. No. He gave us free money. We had to accept some shots, whatever. I'm just saying, if you look at it like objectively, that actually it makes no sense. And I think that that's why we have the problems in society that we have. We're putting people in positions of power that don't have the prerequisite understanding Not in a bad way. You just have unknown unknowns. They're
Sure.
blind spots.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And how do you fill those blind spots? You get other people to fill those blind spots. Hey, this is what's going on. Hey, this is what's going on. And
Mhm.
then you make an educated decision.
Mhm.
How can you make an educated decision if you don't know if they're doing their job correctly?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you should know, like a good leader knows where they're lacking and then gets another person to fill that hole. So
Yeah.
like for me, if I
Yeah,
were to
yeah,
hire
yeah.
a team, I'd be like, I need a designer and a videographer. I know how to do both. I know how to design and be a videographer and a photographer, but I can't do those things as
Mhm.
one person.
Yeah.
You know, like how much is my output? I
Mhm.
can only do so much.
Yeah.
So you hire other people to fill spaces that you need.
Mhm.
But if you don't understand what those positions do, how are you gonna know what you don't know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah.
And I
I'm
think
not
that's why,
disagreeing
like,
with you.
no, I know it's interesting though,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and I think that, like,
I think that yeah, no, I don't. I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's
no, I know. You're like laughing though. I can
yeah.
see it.
I'm
Like you're like
laughing.
person to laugh because you're like, it's true. It's true.
It's true, yeah, but there's no one else stepping up to be those leaders. It's about
Okay,
it's mainly that,
systemic problem. No. But all right. So
right?
I think it's this though. Like when you like work at McDonald's, you can't just be a McDonald's CEO overnight. You can't just like swap out that
Yeah, yeah,
position.
yeah.
You have to build your way up
Mhm.
because you need to understand how the fries are made. It just makes sense. Like if you don't understand how the fries are made, how are you gonna know? Like, what if somebody calls in sick? Oh no, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like that person can fill the fries, you know? And we run our systemically, society is run this way where it's like you don't actually have a base understanding of that thing and you just put somebody in power. And you're
Mhm.
like, good luck. And then we're basing their actions off of popularity. It's really like when Joe Rogan and all them say like being a president is just a popularity contest. It really is when you look at it like that. It's like, yeah,
Mhm.
what experience do you have? Like,
Yeah.
have you built Fortune 500 companies? Do you know how like debt, I don't know, mitigation works?
Mhm.
Debt consolidation? Like, do you know any of those things? Is somebody telling you that? Because if they're just telling you that, I can tell you anything, bro.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
you don't know how that thing works, how are you going to double check their homework?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I literally, this literally happened yesterday. Uh, one of my coworkers sent me this file and they're like, hey, can you just design this? I'm like, yeah, for sure. It's my job. So I designed it, sent it back. And then I'm like, I think it's done. Just let me know if I missed anything. Okay. So then I saw, because we're in Google Docs, they opened up the same doc that I was working from. And I messaged them right. I'm like, oh, you don't trust me, eh? And they're like, no, it's human error. And I'm like, sure. I'm like, that's why you're the best at your job, because you're double checking my work. But if you don't know to double check my work or what to double check, I could have handed you anything.
Mhm.
Right. But that's how we got to now.
Mhm.
And I think when people are talking about like we need a reframing or like a reformatting of the government and stuff, or like the way society works, like I think that's what they're talking about.
Right.
Do you agree?
It's who. It the thing is, are those people running? Are those people running for office?
Yeah, but then okay, but then that says a lot about society too. Then
Yeah, because it's not that. It's just there's a. It's not easy to run to be what a prime minister or president. Like you don't see scientists doing it, even though we should have scientists
no,
doing
no,
it.
no. But I've seen business people doing it. Andrew Yang,
Yeah, yeah,
he didn't win.
yeah.
He
No.
had a very logical policy. Bernie Sanders, a very logical policy.
Hmm.
You know, Bernie Sanders was like, "Hey, we could just give everyone serve if we just tax the rich just to like 2%,
Hmm.
bro, nothing." And I'm like, "Oh, that economically makes sense." But Biden won because it's a liberal game, and Trump just was in office, so they wanted to counteract Trump. You know what I mean? It's like it's just you're playing with emotion, not with logic.
That would be the people. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And I think like that's where we're really going wrong. That
Mhm.
people are voting and they don't understand. This has come up in our podcast before, but it's like people are voting and they don't understand the issue.
Yeah,
You know? Yeah.
I
And
agree.
we'll forever be in this situation, right? We'll forever be in this situation because that's just human nature.
Hmm.
We are literally sheep herding in a specific direction. Do you agree or disagree, or what do you think?
I don't think there's any specific direction. I just think we're just going. We're moving.
We're just like we're just moving. That's why I'm like really hoping for the alien thing to come out. I posted this like yesterday or 2 days ago. I saw Gary Nolan. Everyone's been talking about Gary Nolan. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna finally watch an interview with Gary Nolan. He's a freaking Nobel Peace Prize nominee.
Hmm.
He has worked on virology or something like that. Like he's like very intelligent, but on the side he's also studying UAPs. And I listened to the interview and I cut up the thing, and it's like, dude, this guy's so logical. Like, why would you not trust him?
Hmm.
Like anybody that's like, oh, UAPs aren't real. It's like, you have, do you have a Nobel Peace Prize?
Hmm.
Like in the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
works? Like, do you study virology? I think we should really look at what the experts are saying. You know. And one thing that he mentioned was like, and I've heard this many times.
The
If
problem with that
okay,
is I agree with you. People should listen to the people, experts or whatnot.
yeah,
But we're as humans, we're an emotional being, so we.
that's what I mean. We're a horde. We're like a herd of, and this is the problem.
Yeah.
It's like we're run by emotion, not logic.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what he was saying about the UAPs is that scientifically, he's like calculated it. If it has the ability to stop, start, and move in the manner it is, which we're witnessing, he's like, that's the nuclear output for a country for an entire year with one maneuver.
Hmm.
The power it would
Right.
require.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you're talking about free energy.
Hmm.
And that's really what Stephen Greer talks about this, even though I'm like, kind of on the fence about Stephen Greer. But like, that's what his whole campaign's been about. The reason why UAPs are secret is because it's free energy. It doesn't matter. Like, they've taken a poll. Nobody cares about UFOs. Like, if it turns out you're an alien, I'm like, that's cool, man. What is it like where you're from?
Hmm.
I'm not gonna try and kill you. That makes no sense.
Right.
But it's free energy, and
Hmm.
like the people who are these oil oligarchs, because that's the main energy we run right now. But you
Yeah.
would crumble that entire system if you gave them the technology of UAPs,
Hmm.
right? It's like, and that's why I'm so invested. I don't really care about like multi dimensions and like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure.
you potentially being an alien. You see that like Harvard study that they think that aliens are living among us, but we can't tell.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, nobody cares, bro. Nobody cares. Like, if you were an alien, I don't care, bro. Just like, are you a nice person? Cool, you know.
Hmm.
But it's really just about money at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing, and then I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about where this is like related to like future thoughts. You know, when people are like just guided by intuition, what do you think that means? Like, let
Uh,
intuition be your guide. Like, how do
what
you
does that
build
mean? Yeah.
the ability? Right?
Yeah.
We've heard that, right? You've heard
Sure.
people say that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let's just break it down. What is intuition first?
What's the definition?
Like, no, I don't know. I'm not. I'm asking you. It's like,
Oh,
what would you call? Like, I would think intuition is like knowing the correct answer.
so knowledge, having knowledge of
No,
something.
like, no, like a
How would you
gut
have a
feeling.
correct? So that feeling is it feeling then?
Yeah, like a feeling. It's like, oh, my
Emotion?
intuition's telling me you're kind of sure,
Okay.
but like, let's just stick to like, uh, what that sensation of intuition is. Like, I think it's a positive association towards an outcome.
Okay.
right? Because you're like, somebody walks through the door and like, hey, you want to buy this? And you're like, oh, my intuition's telling me I shouldn't trust you.
Mm-hmm. So it's
You know what I
like
mean?
a
Or
feeling. Yeah, that's a feeling.
right? You're just like, oh, this is the correct answer. I'm going to move
Sure.
down this path.
Yeah. Okay.
You would agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when people are like, because this is another one of those secrets, quote unquote, that people talk about, where it's like just guide through intuition. Um, I think that's a muscle that just needs to be repeated and then strengthened. So it's like the more you listen to your intuition, the more you'll be able to like tap into that sensation.
Mm-hmm.
Because like people, like somebody will come in and they're like, oh, hey, do you want to buy this like knife set? And you're like, my intuition's telling me no, but I'll do it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't listen to your intuition, it's like, well, you're weakening that muscle,
Yeah. Sure.
right? And then I think that when people say like be guided by your intuition, I think it's really just like the outcomes that you secretly want, but you just can't vocalize. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Yeah.
it's like it's almost, and then if you just like, because all right, like basically a question you always get is like, how'd you get to where you are? And you're like, oh, just intuition. Like, oh, how do I do that for myself? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, listen to your inner voice.
Mm-hmm.
But then, okay, I think that just we all are, if you're honest with yourself, you know what the answer is. But we just don't follow the honest answer, and that's why we lead ourselves down paths and then outcomes that we don't want to be in.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like because there's some choices you can't go back from. Like let's say drunk driving, right? There's a dude who is in jail right now for drunk driving, killing 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they're like, how'd you get here? Oh, I just didn't listen to my intuition. But your intuition would have told you that maybe you shouldn't have those 5 drinks and drive home.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that like it's another one of those very obvious answers, which is like how I was like, oh, just peer into the future and then like back plan. But that's something that's so obvious and simple, but people just don't do it. And then I think that this intuition one too is also obvious and simple, but people don't do it, which is like, you know what the right answer is. You're just not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree? Or like, all right, now poke holes and be like, oh, this actually makes no sense.
In those definitions, yeah, it makes sense. If it's a muscle to, I guess, build confidence in your.
In your like ability to understand your like, or like do the right thing in the right moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like intuition is just doing the right thing in the right moment,
Yeah.
in that moment.
Right.
And then the more you practice doing the right thing in every moment, then you're going to build a life built on intuition, and it'll be a happy life because you just kept listening to yourself.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Right. But then people are like, well,
But that
I'm
it
happy
makes
if
sense
I,
though.
like,
It makes sense though, right? If it is intuition is what you feel is what's right, then you, at the end, whatever you get at the point, it's like you would be happier because you were doing things that you felt right. Like what?
exactly. That's why I was giving you a hard time, because you're like, it's so obvious though. It's so simple.
Yeah.
Because like I saw you trying to like see the deeper meaning of what I was trying to. So you're like, what is he trying to get at here? Like, are you trying to like pull one over on me? But then when you said it just now, it's like, wait, that's so straightforward. It's like I really think that all of these secrets are straightforward. We just don't do them. It's like the simplest things are like the answer, man.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing's complicated. We just complicate it in our minds.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you'll end up having like the best life ever because you lived your life following what you knew you should do,
Mm-hmm.
following your intuition. 1 + 1 = 2, bro.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Okay, wait, all right. You know what? Last thing, because this is really, really quick. Do you know the definition of the devil in Catholicism? Because I heard this and I was like, oh, I saw the note and I'm like, oh, you're going to love this one.
What is it?
So, all right, the devil in Catholicism, I grew up as a Catholic, so I can say this. The devil is the most clever, most handsome being ever. They'll just trick you with their wordplay, and they'll make you do the deeds of the devil, and you'll become an evil person because they're so tempting and they're so tricky. Ask anyone on what the devil is, like their description of him, and they'll be like, yeah, he's just like, God made the devil to be super handsome and trick everyone. Like the greatest trick the devil ever played was making you believe he didn't exist. That's what they will tell you in Catholicism 101, bro.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They're just so clever that you don't even think the devil exists, bro. That's how clever the devil is.
Right.
Okay? All right, Billy Carson, you know what he said? So wouldn't you think the devil would be so clever that he would create a religion based off of something that you thought was correct in order to kill a bunch of other people?
Mm-hmm.
Which is what we did with the Christian Crusades.
Mm-hmm.
So is the devil actually running Catholicism right now? And we just think it's God? Because wouldn't that be the most clever thing? Because why are you killing in the name of God?
Sure.
No? Yeah.
There's different stories too about the Crusades that I've heard about too. It's more of a reaction. It's positive in the sense, depends on how you look at it. It's a reaction to being at the time enslaved and being taken over by some other religions at the time.
Okay. For sure. But what about now? Delete the Crusades.
Mm-hmm.
We know the Abrahamic religions like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Abrahamic religion. But then you have like, it was a big thing back in 9/11, like suicide bombers. So wouldn't you think that the devil was clever enough to make you kill yourself for another? Or for like a quote unquote greater good?
Yeah,
you're tearing the world down.
Sure, yeah, but that's gonna come from any sect, any extremist sect, from any.
For sure.
Right.
So it's like,
and it's not necessarily the religion then, right? It's the individuals.
Yes. So this is the devil. Like, they've convinced you to become an extremist.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I mean. It's like you're literally following the devil.
Yeah.
But you don't realize you're following the devil because they're so clever.
Correct. Yeah.
And if you've read like any of the texts, God will get angry and smite people. God's the one who forced Cain and Abel to like I think it was like Cain to kill his brother or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of these negative things that happen in the Bible were the devil. I mean, sorry, we're God. You never say, you just
said it. Yeah.
The devil, right? But that's, Freudian slip. I got to the answer before. Yeah. But like, if you really think about it, it's like God tested Abraham. God tested Noah. You never heard like the devil put this in the way of mm-hmm. Noah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that's why some people believe, like in Gnosticism, they believe that the snake was God, not the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Not.
Yeah.
Not God.
Yeah.
The devil was God.
Sure. Yes.
That's why Gnosticism exists, because like the snake was trying to give Adam knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was the one thing that the devil actually did in the Bible, made him eat from the tree of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, isn't that a good thing though? Educate yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas like,
it's telling you. Yeah, it's telling you exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we had that. We thought about that a long time ago. That
before I know. But when I heard Billy Carson say that, I was like, oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, that actually, like, you never think of it. It's like, if the devil is as clever as God makes him out to be, wouldn't he have tricked you? And you're like, oh yeah, true. Or is he tricking me by making me think I'm being tricked right now?
Or he just doesn't exist at all.
That's true. Exactly.
And we're just making it up.
Yeah. We'll do another podcast about this, but like basically, if you read all the texts, it's actually about aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And like God and like heaven and earth, the Vedas, like the Mahabharata, the giant war, that was actually a space war. Sounds ridiculous, but if you just swap out like what they're saying is if you swap out like
Well, they were using
one word.
Vimanas and stuff, right? So
Exactly. Yeah, the vehicles, literally.
space vehicle or air vehicles or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's another podcast. We got to start that.
Yeah.
Keep going. All right. Yeah. Any last thoughts?
Any last thoughts? Well, we weren't going to talk about it, but because I didn't really mention it, but I liked what Apple is doing with AI.
Oh, I got an email about that. I didn't look into it though.
I like their marketing or rebranding of the word AI.
I didn't see any of it. Okay.
I'll tell you what they named it now. It's very. It's not. I mean, it's simple but kind of clever.
We won't deep dive into this.
No deep dive. Just the name.
Okay.
That's why I liked it. I liked when they told the name of it. It was kind of cool. So we know what AI stands for, artificial intelligence. So they just called it Apple Intelligence. It's very simple.
That's cool.
And it also means AI. So
Apple Watch, Apple TV, Apple Intelligence. It's pretty clever.
Yeah.
Best marketers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, cool. We'll deep dive into that next week because I'm very interested. I got the email. I just didn't read it.
Yeah.
So like introducing artificials, like visuals. Tell me about this. Yeah. All right. So till next week. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.
Bye. All right. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors: Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.